What exactly makes a video game a masterpiece in the eyes of the gaming world? It's a very broad question, I get that. And personally, I've only had 3 answers to that question. These answers are really just examples of games that I've seen that have left their mark on the gaming industry and the world forever. One such example is Halo and Combat Evolved, a game that came out during the time when the FPS genre was only seen on PC with Doom. In comes in Halo during the launch of the first ever Xbox, and with it, the FPS genre was solidified onto consoles forever. My other 2 examples are Elder Scrolls and Demon Souls. First, Elder Scrolls. You could argue that it single-handedly created the open world RPG genre alone. And speaking of RPGs, Demon Souls, a game that of which during its development was seen as a guaranteed failure by Sony, a game that was seen to have no reason to succeed. But during their launch, much like Demon Souls and every other game that I just mentioned, they've all left their mark on the gaming world. They created franchises and genres of their own that have been adored and remembered by so many for decades now, and will continue to do so till the goddamn sun goes out. But what if I told you there was a game series out there that, while it didn't create the genre it was based off of, in my opinion, took the genre in a new direction that is not only brilliant, not only unique, but I think will also be either copied off of or remembered for decades and decades to come. The game series that of which I am referring to is known only as Little Nightmares.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Yes, you heard me right, ladies and gents. Today we're going to go over why I believe Little Nightmares is a masterpiece that holds a candle of its own to my 3 favorite game franchises of all time. I've played every game, including the DLC, the vastly underrated spin-off that truly deserves a remake, I've read the few comic books given to us fans, and I've listened to all of the soundtracks. I'm in love with the series, if you couldn't tell already.
No shit.
Now, some of you might be asking, what is Little Nightmares? And if you're asking that question, I will ask you to now click away from this video and do not watch it until you've played both games and the DLC. I'm only saying this because I'm going to spoil a lot from the DLC, from both games, and I really want you guys to experience the games beforehand. So I'm going to give you a chance to click away from this video right now. Anyhow, getting back on the topic at hand.
Little Nightmares is a platforming, puzzle-solving, horror-inducing game series with stealth mechanics. Didn't really know how to end that description. Anyways, made by Tarsier Studios. Okay, since I already described what this game series is, I think going into the gameplay experience itself seems to be the right course of action here. I myself love platforming games, although I never necessarily played platformers like Super Mario or Cuphead on my own. They will always have a place in my heart, but I've always seen platformers as like a series that you would play with your parents or younger siblings. I never saw them as anything else but that. So, after playing Little Nightmares, it made me realize the full potential of platformers. Let me explain. The gameplay itself may not sound all that exciting, as a game like Halo on paper, but in practice, the use of horror and platforming do two things very effectively. First off, the game makes you think. That's where the puzzles come into play. And no matter what you're doing, whether it be getting around a monster or if it's trying to like open a door, you're always using your brain in every scenario of this game. And two, it creates tension. The good kind. The kind that not only scares the shit out of you from time to time, but the kind that also gets you invested in these mute characters. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the characters don't speak unless you count. As speaking.
This, in my opinion, is a good thing. I will get into that later though, but just keep that in mind. The gameplay gets me invested in these adorable little nightmares.
He said it! He said it!
The gameplay just makes you feel like you've gone through a journey with these characters. You ran from danger with them, you hid from monsters with them, and you'll end up killing these monsters with them. The fact that Tarsier made me feel connected to these tiny mutes is all the more impressive, and it shouldn't be ignored here. The gameplay is executed perfectly here in my opinion. Now this game has a way of freaking you out, and until then I never really knew why that was. I mean, I always had an idea of it, but I never really knew at the top of my head. I couldn't really explain it. Until now, I feel like the reason why the game has a way of freaking the hell out of you is explained with these two subjects: the art style and the atmosphere. The art style / design of the world is what really freaks people out, and I can answer this or prove this with a little theory called the uncanny valley. What I mean by this is that we hate or fear what we don't understand. Picture this scenario. A robot looks like a robot, right? You're like, okay, I know what that is. But the minute the robot starts looking a little bit human, your mind goes into conflict with each other. On one hand, you're like, okay, this thing's human, but the other hand, they're like, no, there is something wrong here. What the fuck is that thing? The same could be said for this game. The art style, while looks realistic, or, more human, is what terrifies you because there are certain things about it that are off. Some prime examples of the uncanny valley being used in this series is, like from the first game with the chefs. They look human, sort of. You also see them doing their day-to-day jobs as the chefs. No duh, they're the fucking chefs. But you also see that they sleep, you also see that they can eat. Also, that they would itch themselves, or they would have, like, a smoke break. That's bizarre. Why do they look how they do? Why is it their faces look so frickin' weird? And, they do all this normal human stuff. The human addition or part to the game is what really freaks you out, because on one hand you recognize something, but on the other there's something off about it. Another example could be shown in the Pale City. It looks like just another depressing city. I mean, we've all seen that, especially after 2020. But then you look at the buildings, you're like, why are they curved and bent in such a way without collapsing over each other? Or you go and look at the teacher. She looks like a normal person, but on one hand, her walking movements are so stiff, her eyes just never close, and her neck does that thing. And also when you go to the barbershop, which was part of the content of the game, but when you go in there, you just see the clothes are just there. They're there, but there's no one wearing them. You're like, what the hell? Where'd they go? and what happened to them. You also see the viewers, or the inhabitants of the Pale City. As you walk in there, you just see like all these people with their non-existent faces. They look like human, but you see them drawn to the screen. All these elements play together to create this very unsettling feeling that freaks out the players. That's why this game freaks you out, because it's uncanny and it makes you fear the unknown. The art style alone is also memorable for Little Nightmares. When you look at it, you'll remember it as Little Nightmares. Or you'll think it's a Super Mario Bros. Game that was rebooted by Tim Burton.
If you look at much of Tim's work, there's a childlike quality to quite a bit of it.
Overall, the style of the game is really what makes Little Nightmares Little Nightmares. It manages to do all the above, as in it manages to somehow be gloomy yet innocent, while also being terrifying yet charming. It's amazing how it was able to balance off all these tones, and it should not be ignored there either. But what good is a game without memorable characters? I don't know, you tell me. Anyhow, I think I've mentioned characters a lot in so far, so I think it's good to go over them. First, there's Six. Six is a short-haired girl wearing a yellow raincoat. Six looks normal on the outside, but on the inside there lie her dark, sadistic side. A side that thinks it's okay to warm your hands over a fire created by the burning surgeon you trapped in the cremation chamber, while also listening to him howl in pain. Six is the type of character that would cry for help, but when given the opportunity, she'd mercilessly kill a school kid out of retaliation. She would also leave you behind whenever, because Six only cares about herself. While she may show affection towards others at times, she'll also devour an innocent gnome in order to survive, and murder a witch in order to gain. And then kill everyone else. Did I mention Six would break the fingers of a severed hand in her spare time? Alright, next up is the Runaway Child, or RC for short. This character I barely know enough about, but he was only in one DLC, so I'm gonna give it some slack. RC is but a simple lad, trying to escape the mall and being devoured by the cast of the Nutty Professor. He's also not the type of character that Six in Mono is, and what I mean by that is that his purpose wasn't meant to be like a character, his purpose was meant to be more of like a tool meant to answer questions about the world of Little Nightmares. Questions like, where did the gnomes come from? This is why I don't feel as connected to RC as I would with the other characters, because he only serves to answer questions and he's not an actual character, at least in my opinion. Oh yeah, and like I said, there was that question about the gnomes and where they came from. This is why RC's character is more of like a tragic story. You see, the gnomes were once children, but they were then mercilessly turned into these creatures by a lady, that which I was talking about a minute ago. RC's story, like many others in the Little Nightmares universe, is a tragic one. Yeah, no shit. You see, during your first playthrough, the supposed first game, you see Six mercilessly devour an innocent gnome. So, when you first play through it, you at first would think, well damn, Six, okay. But when you play the DLC, you learn that this particular gnome was RC. He peeped in on the lady and she turned him into a gnome out of rage. You as a gnome then head towards a particular room where you see a starving Six. You then offer her a sausage link, but she instead eats you. RC was doomed to live as a gnome and then painfully murdered by a hunger-struck psycho in a raincoat. Like, fuck me, that's just sad. But, like I said, his character is more of a tragic tale, and honestly, I just feel bad for him. Then finally there is my favorite character, Mono. Mono is different from Six and RC. While Six and RC are trying to, save themselves, Mono, on the other hand, is noble, courageous, and loyal to his friends, including Six. This is perfectly represented in the opening of the supposed sequel, as we enter a psychotic taxidermist serial killer's house, who will stuff anything. He risked his life to save someone he barely knew. He also likes to hold hands. Like a lot. Did I mention Mono was running from something? Yeah, during the second game, we see Mono is drawn to this particular door. It's a door that imprisons a tall, thin, anime glasses-wearing man hell-bent on destroying Six. The real hero of this tale. This mysterious thin man also shares similar powers to Mono, with it being able to go through television screens and devour phased children's souls. Odd. But Mono, being the loyal friend that he is, destroys Thin Man and risks his own neck for Six yet again, who was imprisoned within the mysterious signal tower. He saves her but is betrayed in the end, and we come to the shocking realization that he was the Thin Man? Yeah, these games tend to really leave people with a lot more questions than answers, but again, I'm going to get into why that's a good thing later on. But the key thing here is that I just described to the characters in fine detail, and these characters never really speak a true line of dialogue, ever. It just goes to show how great the studio was at making and developing these characters, especially characters that never speak a line of dialogue. Like, let me show you for example. Say remember in the opening, right? You offer Six your hand, and she just pushes you out of the way and runs, but she was a bit hesitant at first. This shows two things about Six already. This not only shows that Six is opportunistic and will take whatever advantage she's given in order to survive, but also hints that she probably lived most of her life alone, which is why she hesitated at first, because she doesn't know how to react to such affection and warmth. There are moments like these scattered across the entire game. Like I said, the opening where Six rejects her hand, but eventually you guys end up in the school, and Six is then captured by, well, the school bullies. They're made of like this fucking weird-ass potheads. I'm not saying like drugs, I'm actually saying flower potheads. Anyhow, you save Six again, and judging by her actions, she was actually shocked that you would save her a second time. It's moments like these that really start to show you that they're developing a friendship. Six didn't really think she could trust Mono at first, she just knew that she needed him to get through certain obstacles. But at this moment, that was when you knew that she was starting to consider him as more than just a tool, but a friend. Someone she can trust. And it's moments like these that don't require dialogue. That's why I'm saying not having dialogue in this game works, because moments like these are allowed to shine, where they're not speaking, they're not speaking at all throughout the entire game, but it's just a moment between two kids that are starting to become friends, and the music is just beautiful. Like, watch this scene. Now, could I be reading too much into these scenes? Probably. I really wouldn't put it past myself. I do that a lot. But honestly, I feel like it makes sense for Little Nightmares, because there is no dialogue and because the characters are mute. It's all about visual storytelling and subtlety, and the only way for you to understand the story of Little Nightmares is you have to look between the lines and understand the meaning behind the actions of what the characters are committing. It's mind-blowing, honestly. Like, how can a game like what I just showed you give you that amount of emotion, amount of character, and amount of development, but games like Destiny that are meant to have so much dialogue and lore behind it can only give you, well, this?
What happened to it?
I could tell you of the great battle centuries ago. I could tell you of the power Of the darkness, there are many tales. Lately, those tales have stopped. I could tell you.
But I won't.
This is by far Little Nightmare's greatest strength, is its story. And what I mean by that is the fact that the story is entirely left up to interpretation. Let me explain. Now, in most cases, having a story that tells you nothing can be confusing, causing your audience to be nothing but frustrated. But in some cases, visual storytelling can have an opposite effect, and never is that ever more blatantly clear than with Little Nightmares. Or Dark Souls. Let me ask you something. How much interest would you have in something if you already knew everything about it? Not much, right? Well, the same can be said here. Part of the fascination with Little Nightmares is its characters, its world, and how little we know of them. Tarsier keeping most of this a mystery was ingenious. I say this because it then leaves every single moment within these games to be left up to interpretation. Like, what is the signal tower in Little Nightmares? Is it a monstrous being that feeds on the souls and meat of its viewers, or is it a symbolic representation of corporate greed since it feeds on the life force of its consumers? How about in the ending of Little Nightmares 2? Was Mono destined to become the next Thin Man? Was he always the Thin Man? Is this a time loop or time paradox that Mono/Thin Man is trying to break that the signal tower created itself? Who's this guy, or what the fuck is that? It's questions like these that are left unanswered, which causes people to obsess over it, like me. So they go online, they watch video theories, and then go back and play every game, look at every little detail possible. Hell, if they get desperate like myself, they go to the App Store hoping the spin-off games would give them some answers, therefore giving them closure. They find nothing but more questions, and the cycle repeats. A game that makes you want to play it again or go back to previous titles is, in my opinion,
A great success!
less is more, people, and this game blatantly proves that. Overall, I think that the mute characters, the exhilarating gameplay, and unclear story is what makes Little Nightmares, as a franchise, a masterpiece of a game series. And while I am sad that Tarsier has come out to say that they won't be making more Little Nightmares games, I think that's the best course of action for a series like this. Also, who knows? Tarsier and Bandimo have said tons of things, and then went back on those, so hopefully another game comes out in the future. Anyhow, before I end the video, I just want to give a quick explanation as to why this video came out late and where I've been for the past week. I am a student, and I have a job. And when you have a school that likes to drip feed you assignments and then throw dozens of fucking projects all over you for no goddamn reason, you tend to, have something to do, and you have to prioritize that. I also have a job, and I make money off of it. I also ask for extra hours, because I'm trying to fix my PC, and I have to budget. I estimated in order to upgrade my hardware, it's going to cost me $1,200, and I can get that. It'll definitely take me a minute, but, I'll be able to upgrade the PC. Because I want to make sure that when I record gameplay from now on, it's not laggy as hell. I realized that in one of my videos where I was recording gameplay of Fallout 4, it was extremely goddamn laggy, to the point where I would count it as unwatchable. Also, recently, this wonderful person who goes by CaptMiner369, I'm not kidding, guys, seriously, give this man some love and support, because he's a really cool guy, in my opinion. He brought up this issue with my videos, and I don't think, like, he meant it. When I was doing my review for the Medium, I think at one point I described the game as like survival horror, or I just didn't explain like why I came to that conclusion at one point. I think it was survival horror because, you know, you had to hide from monsters and you had to get through areas, but I can see why it probably wasn't that, because, you know, it really probably wasn't. I'm not 100% sure, I don't really remember what happened to that video, but it brought up this issue where I feel like I don't explain my points well enough, where I don't go into depth about it. And I noticed this like with my very first video where I talked about Minilad. I said that he did all these terrible things. I mean, he did, but I didn't really, you know, give examples or explain it well enough. So when I was recording this video again, I re-recorded everything after I rewrote a ton of things in this video, and I want to make sure that I improve the video's quality. I was also using different audio software, which is what you are hearing right now, and it's a bit inconsistent in the beginning of the video. I really want to improve the quality of my videos because I believe you guys deserve that professional quality, and with it I have one more announcement, and then I'll let you go. Sorry guys. Now recently I really wanted to, you know, connect with my fan base, you know, those 24 subscribers, or probably how many more, I don't know, really, I haven't kept track, but the point is, I really want to, like, you know, get in touch with you guys and see what kind of topics you would like me to cover, or like what I can do to improve my videos. And since y'all are not doing it in the comments, I'm created a Discord server room that goes by the name of Kermit's Channel or Kermit's Server. It's either one of those. I know, it ain't original at all. But the whole point I'm trying to make here is that I really want to try and, like, you know, develop like a relationship with you guys where, you know, you tell me what, you know, you want me to go over, and I'll go over it. I mean, I already have an idea of what I'm going to do for my next video. It's going to be a negative review on the Frontier. God, that disappointed the hell out of me. But anything else, the video afterwards, I will leave entirely in your hands, guys. Seriously, I really want to try and grow this community here, and I need you guys to, you know, tell me what I can do here, because, you know, I really want to hear what you have to say. Anyhow, that's it. Finally, we're at the end. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I had a lot of fun making this video, as you can tell, and I will continue to make more of these videos going forward. If you liked what you saw, please be sure to hit that like button, ring my bell, and if you're new, subscribe to the channel. Take care, you guys.